Welcome to my kitchen. I thought this would be the perfect place to discuss food safety. And the main component of that I really want to tone in on is raw diets, not cooked, or at least not fully cooked diets. So there's a really big range of these diets and basically the source that you get them from. Some people do hunt or gather different sources of meat and then feed them to their pet directly. Other people, of course, purchase more of a commercial diet that you may see at the store that is sold raw and meant to be consumed or fed raw. And there are also veterinary nutritionists that can design a raw diet specifically for an individual pet. The concerns that a lot of veterinarians have regarding raw diets are what I'm going to really delve into today to help you better understand where we're coming from and get a more educated idea of these diets and also the concerns that they may bring for your pet and even for others in your household. So to begin, one of the big arguments for people who are proponents and advocates for raw diets is that the cooking process could somehow denature proteins or make the enzymes or different properties that are nutrient beneficial less active and less available for your pet. There's no scientific evidence to support that claim. So nutritionists have been studying food for quite some time, and similarly to humans, how we have our meals cooked for the most part, it's not shown that someone eating a cooked diet, including dogs, is not going to have the same nutrient backing as an animal eating a raw diet. So there isn't a health benefit to feeding raw. Now the other concern is that an animal, a dog, is meant to be living in the woods, is a wild animal, and that wolves and other similar animals eat raw diets. They can't cook. But these animals in the wild are not domesticated. Dogs and cats have been domesticated, especially dogs, for many, many generations. And so at this point, a Chihuahua would not exist in the wild naturally. You know, there are many different breeds that we have created, and they're very different now than their ancestors. The other factor too is even wolves and other animals that are currently out in the wild, yes, they can only eat raw diets, but they get sick. So they do get pathogens, they have parasites, they get worms, and if we go check them for different health parameters, they get sick. They're not somehow immune from these conditions just because they're eating a raw diet. And the really, really big thing, and why I have this computer out, is I want to delve into a couple studies to better understand why this is such a big safety risk. So when an animal, a cat or a dog, comes into the veterinary hospital and we're informed that they're fed a raw diet, broad statement from veterinary schools to every clinic that I'm aware of is you really need to wear gloves when handling that patient. It's just a safety risk. Why is that? So dogs that are fed and cats that are fed this diet that is raw do have raw pathogens, the potential at least, many do, that when tested, they can have these raw pathogens in their saliva, on their coat, because they groom themselves that way, and certainly in their stool. So not only do you have to take precautions if you have a raw meat in your house that you're preparing, you of course don't put it on a dish that you're going to then use to eat off of. Unfortunately, that isn't the only precaution. It's not just kitchen safety that you have to take into account when you're feeding a raw diet. It's also how you're interacting with your pet. So an animal that is eating a raw diet could transmit these pathogens that it can get from the diet to you as well. So especially if you've been immunocompromised or a child in your house, you really want to take additional thought before feeding a diet like this. So to explain that further, so there was a research study done in 2007 that reported 50%, half of dogs fed salmonella contaminated raw food diets did shed salmonella in their feces. And it was the same serotypes of salmonella in the food and in the feces. They did have a control group where none of the control dogs that were fed salmonella negative diets were shedding salmonella. So that is a pretty interesting study. And again, raw diets can, Salmonella, for instance, as well as some of the other pathogens I'm about to discuss, can be transmitted and can be very dangerous for humans as well. So there's actually a very recent study in 2018. It was a comprehensive review published in a peer-reviewed veterinary journal called the Veterinary Record, evaluating 35 commercial, frozen, raw meat-based diets from 8 different brands. So I'm not targeting any one company. This is a generalized statement. They found 80%, 28 of these products, contained E. coli. 54% contained Listeria. That is the pathogen that people really worry about with pregnancy. And 20% contained Salmonella. Those are all the bacteria that were evaluated. They also examined for some parasites and found that 11% contained Sarcocystis and 6% had Toxoplasma. So we're talking about a significant risk of these pathogens, and then further, all of those ones listed are zoonotic. That's why they were studied, because this is no longer just a preference that you could go decide for your dog. You have to really think about the potential risk to your whole family. And so it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I know that owners do pursue raw diets with the best intentions in mind. They want to feed their pet something natural, something healthy, but unfortunately all of the things posted, for the most part, unless it's from a board certified veterinary nutritionist, it can be a really big risk. So I really, really urge you to get online, look at published studies, and start considering, why are you leaning toward a raw diet? Is it just because a celebrity posted something, or is it backed by scientific research so that you know that your choice is appropriate for you and your pup? Please speak to your vet if any of this is concerning to you. If your animal was recommended a raw diet, make sure that it is validated and that you're taking all those precautions to protect your family. Thank you.